Push the button.
Are those in? Did you turn them on?
He knows.
New power. There we go, testing. Okay, thank you, everyone. First thing we're going to do is call to order and establish a quorum. So I'm going to take attendance. Grady Stevens. Thank you. Tom Reinhardt.
Present.
Marilyn Stout. Here. John Elkins.
Here.
Bill Simonelli.
Here.
Kathleen Falastini. What's your name? Stan Toro.
Now you know you want it.
Pick on me, right?
Everybody's here. Okay, so first up we have Jake. Would you like to come up and?
Jake.
All right, are these working? Everyone
Yeah.
working? All right. Good evening, everybody. Jake Henry, Bellingham Court. I just want to start off by commending all of you for the work that you do. It is no easy task, and I do not envy your position. So thank you very much for what you do. We really appreciate it. With that being said, I would like to explain my concerns and frustrations shared by myself and my neighbors. 3 weeks ago, a resolution was made to allow alternative roof materials under emergency provisions. I, like many others in the community, have active leaks within my structure. Fortunately, we're relatively out of rainy season, but the occasional storm does present the leaks to reappear within my house. I am under contract and have a deposit with a roofer. They are waiting for my guidance on material. Every day I wait is a day or days longer I'm exposed in the end. Could end up being months longer for every week that I wait. I applied to the ARC committee for repairs, submitting images of a product I'd like to go with. I also submitted images of wet and stained drywall in the documentation as requested by the ARC. To my surprise, my application was denied by the ARC as they deemed my situation non-emergent. No further explanation of what is considered emergent. I did, however, receive approval to dry in with underlayment, with an email stating, and I quote, "You are approved for dry-in of your roof that should last for a year." I have a problem with this statement, as I find it to be grossly untrue, and I feel that the ARC should not be promoting false information. The polyglass underlayment that you see on houses has a 3 to 6 month max exposure time. This information can be found directly on the company's website. Also, the subject matter expert that spoke to the board via Zoom appeared to share the opinion that this product should definitely not be exposed to elements very long. With all this being said, time is of the essence. Regarding roofing, residents are on the clock and any further delay could prove to be detrimental. Supply chains are very quickly going to get longer and longer. We are also seeing drastic increases in prices. It has come to my attention that a resident who I assume is waiting for a resolution was informed that their initial quote is no longer valid and that the price is now roughly $9,000 more after just a month of waiting. Rainy season and hurricane season is going to sneak back up on us. Surely no Sandoval resident should have to weather a storm with a compromised roof and/or a tarp. Also, speaking of timelines, my insurance is due in April. In the likely event that I or any Sandoval resident gets their insurance dropped, surely no company will take you on as a client with a compromised roof. I urge the board to streamline and expedite the process for roof repairs. If half the, I've heard 1,500, 1,300, however many homes are in Sandoval, need roofs, the ARC is going to need guidance and a lot of help. It's a huge task. My only question to the board or the ARC is, since the emergency roof provision 3 weeks ago, how many alternative roofs have been approved in Sandoval? Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Alan Heath.
So good evening, and again, I echo Jake's sentiment. Thank you for the board for trying to expedite this process and trying to get this gets us some guidance. So earlier this week, I also emailed the architectural committee because I did some investigating and some fact finding, and I come to find that the barrel type cement tile roof material is available in 14 weeks as opposed to the 28 weeks that they are quoting for the flat tiles. I talked to my roofer, and he says they're very comparable products. They're made by the same company, Eagle Roofing. They are manufactured to the same processes and standards of quality as the flats, but the lead time on them are 1/2. When I emailed the architectural committee, they said at this time they are not approved, to my surprise. And I would like this board to consider adding the barrel type. The two obvious reasons are, if you are considering the stone coated metal stamped roofing material, it's very similar in look and appearance, and in fact the barrel roof has been around, and it's probably more prevalent in the South than the flat. And they come in the same colors, they come in the Caribbean colors with the pastels. And the cost, I'm told, is the same. So I see no reason why the barrel type cement tile roof material should not be approved. But they told me it was not approved, but I'd like to get that formally voted on and approved so I can place the order. I think 14 weeks, under the circumstances, 14 weeks lead time is pretty darn good at this point, given how much damage throughout the South. Okay?
Thank you very much. Okay, so I just want to review what was the motion. Sorry? No, it's crossed off. It's up. The motion that was passed previously, I wanted to read that one more time so we are clear that that was an interim modification for variance only. Whereas the extent of roof damage inflicted by Hurricane Ian has called into question the availability of the clay cement roofing tile mandated by Sandoval's design guidelines, the board has decided to adopt an interim modification of the design guidelines to permit certain residents the option to use additional roofing material, metal, or composite. Resolved that pursuant to Article 4.3 of the Declaration of the Board, hereby authorizes the Architectural Review Committee, known as ARC, to grant a roofing variance to those residents who can demonstrate that they are experiencing ongoing water damage or have been threatened with suspension of their homeowner's insurance. The variance shall be limited to the use of products approved by the board and colors approved by the ARC. The board's product approval process shall be completed no later than December 1st. So this evening, that's what we're here for, to decide the product approval. We had a discussion by Dr. Christine Alfano from Hague Global Engineering in Minnesota Monday evening. Her first statement was very few roofing materials can withstand Category 5 winds. She's an engineer, and she is a forensic meteorological engineer, and her standpoint as a specialist with post-disaster wind study, hurricane, and tornadoes. Included in her primary area of consulting is roofing systems. She first discussed concrete clay tiles that they sustain in high winds, have a long service life of up to 50 years. When applied to roof with spray foam adhesive, cement and clay can withstand up to 130 miles an hour wind resistance. There is a supply chain issue, and when the manufacturer stops productions or discontinues colors or tile, it makes repairs difficult. She said when asked between clay versus concrete, she chooses concrete. She then discussed metal.
That wasn't what you said. Clarification.
Okay, I'll strike that from the record, and I will review that later. That's what I have written down. Second is metal, standing seam. Sustains winds up to 140 miles per hour. She would put on her home. She would choose to put standing seam on her home. She said when they do fail, it is catastrophic fail with several panels lifting at any time. They are easily dented. The third was recycled composite. She said too new. They mimic slate in appearance. They do become brittle. They sustain category 1 to 2 winds. Above that, they suffer much damage. They're difficult to repair, and insurance may require higher deductibles. When I asked her for her opinion on the stone-coated metal roofs and permatile, she said metal roofs mimicking Caribbean Mediterranean look. They do decent and moderate winds of category 1 to 2, but she's not certain about category 3 to 4. To date, we have had 37 roof applications. 31 are asking for concrete tile, 5 want stone-coated metal, 1 wants galvanized steel. So 87% at this time want concrete. That's up to date. I was asked the question, so I'm providing the answer. Okay, so we have a resolution.
I'd like to make a motion for a resolution.
Go ahead.
Okay. I have a proposed motion to amend.
Excuse me. I presented my resolution prior to this one being sent. I would like to present mine first.
He clearly spoke beforehand. I'm sorry.
My resolution was provided before. I would like to make my resolution presentation before that.
Go for it. Sorry.
Okay. My presentation.
Do you have it in writing for the board?
I did send it to you. You have it.
Do you have it in writing tonight for the board is the question. That's all I'm asking.
If you want to look at it after I get done reading it.
Yes, please. Thank you.
You're very welcome. My presentation for the resolution tonight is for board consideration and approval. As we know, Hurricane Ian was an extraordinary event. There's no doubt about it. It's not an isolated thing. It's impacted all of us. My resolution is pretty straightforward and goes as follows. All roof replacements moving forward are subject to a formal ARC application with proper documentation and approval. ARC approval authority is limited to ascertaining that the proposed roof will be one of the approved materials, which is cement and clay tiles, metal and composite materials, and the color of that replacement material is not significantly different than the previous material being replaced unless otherwise approved. 2, the ARC is not authorized to deny applications for ambiguous reasons, such as the color of replacement material does not match the previous tiles, unless the board of directors approves such ARC action. No roof replacements, or new roof replacements, will now include the following materials: cement and clay tiles, metal and composite. Metal could be standing seam, barrel, stone-coated, as long as it fits the aesthetic of the island style and Caribbean look that this community was designed around. More importantly, this is a property owner's choice based on these materials. Number 4, the ARC will incorporate these changes, in metal roofing materials immediately in the application approval process. 5, roofing color should remain consistent with the community standards as defined in the neighborhood color palettes distributed by the ARC. Color shade tolerance for preferred roofing materials by the property owner must be considered by the ARC based on the chronological age of the property and the availability of roofing product. 6, to maintain the original charm of the developer's vision of Sandoval, the roof design must conform with the island-style Caribbean aesthetic. The reference to that is the Sandoval Design Review Guidelines dated November 17, 2018. 7, all ARC applications must include the contractor's name, address, and verifications of both licensure, licensure and insurance in the state of Florida. No unlicensed contractors from outside the state of Florida will be accepted for approval for roof replacement or repairs. 8, all construction practices and materials must conform to all current federal, state, and local building codes, wind ratings, and specifications. This change will allow the Sandoval guidelines to allow the property owners to make the choice of the roofing materials that they choose in the future while maintaining the quality and charm of Sandoval, the community that we love. That's my resolution, and that's what I'm presenting, please.
His resolution was in the form of a motion, which I second, and I'd like to speak to it.
Okay, motion seconded, and we'll begin discussion.
In discussion. When I read the resolution yesterday morning in an email, I thought it really allowed for ARC to be involved in the approval process, and that it was compassionate to the citizens that live here and their desires, which I think is very important, that we do what is in the best interest of those individuals that live here. I will share with you that if you didn't happen to see the Monday night presentation, I, at that time, read an email that I received from the property appraiser, Lee County's property appraiser. He's been a property appraiser for over 30 years, 6 years elected. And I asked him for his position on roofing materials, metal versus composite versus concrete tile versus asphalt. His response to me was, metal is the absolute best, in my opinion. Just look at the roofs that survived on the islands, overwhelmingly metal. I did have an opportunity 2 days ago to speak with the mayor. He builds high-end residential, and I asked him his thoughts, and he said he had 2 customers already changed from the concrete tile to metal. So I wanted just to share that information because I think it's important that everybody make their decisions based on facts.
Please, for the rest of the meeting, please.
So in the proposed motion, what is specifically changing in section 24 and 25 of the design requirements?
Bill, my proposal is straightforward, it's simple, and it covers all the issues.
But what it doesn't do is it doesn't specifically say which words are deleted and which words are added to section 24 and 25, which is the governing document.
Well, if we can working on the...
So that's going to require another vote of the community?
Absolutely not. The board can make this decision as it's been proposed. That is the motion on the table.
Okay, because I think the proposal that I have is pretty similar in content, and it has the specific wording that changes and the specific deletes in section 24 and 25, so that there's no ambiguity for the ARC to interpret design changes.
So if you want to piggyback onto that after this is voted upon, you're more than welcome to.
Well, I think there's some slight differences, so I think it would probably need some,
I would ask to call the question.
Yes, I call the question.
No, there's still discussion to be had.
There, Robert's rules.
There's still discussion to be had by the rest of the members. We have to have discussion. How can you call the question already?
If I can call the question, it can be voted down.
There's still more discussion to be had.
You're not following Robert's rules.
I don't think you are. We are entitled to further questions. It's too soon for a call to question.
so I just think, because specifically when you look at the wording in 24 and 25, some of the issues that we have are that,
I would make a point to the chair. We need to be specific to my particular resolution and move on that, please.
That's why the question was called.
So,
This is great. Before we do a vote, I'd like to make a few comments and ask a couple of questions, please.
Okay, just one moment, Grady. Are you done?
Yeah, I'm done.
Okay, go ahead, Grady.
Even though Todd is indicating that his resolution or motion is straightforward, his resolution does nothing to offer guidelines as to what ARC is going to use specifically for allowing or disallowing replacement of roofing. The issue becomes that we will end up forcing the board to review each and every application that is rejected by ARC. We had this discussion when we had the emergency vote on this, and I asked that you pay attention to design, not just material, and you chose not to do that. I'm asking you one more time to please give at least a thought to design. It's not just about materials. The different materials can be strong or weak depending upon how they're designed. And if we're going to have to compromise here, I would appreciate if you would not tie the hands of each ARC team member. I wish that you would take the opportunity to put a resolution forward that specifically talks about not just materials allowed, but the design of said materials. Colors are different. We all agree that the colors have to match. But the problem that we're having is that no one is indicating that the design has to be outlined. I believe that Bill Simonelli's resolution does do that. That's all I have.
Could I speak?
Yes.
Is this live? If you look at the bylaws that talk about materials, it just says concrete tile or clay. It doesn't say specifications. It doesn't say design. It doesn't say anything about all the details that we've added in this. It does not. I think the community needs this now. We've already heard from some residents that delays cost money. They certainly cost time. I can't imagine why we would allow an art committee to say you've got to keep an underlayment on your roof for 1 year. That's just not reasonable. And that was verified by the expert that we hired to talk to us on that. When asked what roof she would put in her house, she said metal. Okay.
Can I make that?
So anyway, I'm ready for a vote, but we'll hear more discussion if you need.
Okay, Bill.
All right, so John, so in the current rules, in the current design, it specifies flat tile.
Yes.
It would not allow the product such as the S-tile that some people are considering. And that's why I think we need to be more specific about that. And it does, with respect to steel and other material, there has to be specifications relative to their thickness, which also affects their ability to withstand storms here. That's why I think I was trying to put more clarity into my proposed resolution.
So as
This is Brady again. I ask that you give the art committee something other than the term aesthetically pleasing to use when rejecting something. You have to do that. If you don't, you're going to have the same problem. You're just making a gray area, and you're going to end up with the board having to review and approve a majority of these applications.
The art committee has rejected every single metal application. I don't know that, the guideline is, we said metal. We didn't say it had to be curved or flat. It could be either.
That's the problem.
It could be either. If you want barrel tile, ask for barrel tile. If you want a barrel-shaped metal, put in a request for it. Right now, the resolution in hand would allow that, as long as it's aesthetically pleasing color, okay? They're quite good products that fit all that.
It goes beyond aesthetically pleasing though, right? It does specify Mediterranean, Caribbean look appeal.
Are you telling me that barrel is not in the Mediterranean?
No, my question was that it does state that it needs to be Mediterranean, Caribbean in appearance. So we are leaving that subjectively to the ARC to say whether or not it is or is not Mediterranean or Caribbean look. So we're asking for just a little bit more specifications.
We can do that specification later, but my opinion is if the ARC does not have the ability to make that decision, maybe they should be replaced.
Well, John, if you feel that strongly about it, perhaps you should pursue replacing the members of the ARC committee.
I didn't say that.
I think that's what you inferred.
I'm saying I want approval.
Well, you're asking for a blank check, and that's just not something wise to put into what we're making our ongoing or our future choices based upon. If it's not tightened up, you're just going to allow yourself problems. It's not as specific as it needs to be.
Okay, we'll move to vote. All in favor?
Aye. Hold on up there, hold on up there. Grady?
Nay.
And nay.
Nay.
Nay, Brady. Okay, the resolution passed. All right, two reminders, December 13th finance meeting at 6 p.m. for residents to discuss the budget for 2023. And that will take place at 6 p.m. here. And then December 15th will be the vote to adopt that budget.
Karaoke the
That's it. Pardon me?
Karaoke the
No. And